Good morning, folks. It is May 27th, 2026. I'm Suzanne McAllister, co-founder of the PAW Project, Post-Animal Use World Project, Vegan Spirituality Group of Philadelphia, and PA Voters for Animals. And I am here with my co-founder, collaborator, partner in many, many things, Ann Piotrowski. Hi, Ann.
Hi.
And we have taken to doing these recordings periodically, and we wanted to do something this morning and had a recent conversation about thought stopping cliches, which I thought was really, really interesting. So I'm going to let you start us off, Anne.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting because it's like I've thought about these thought-stopping cliches in other contexts before, but I had a interaction with someone who, in talking about what they eat versus me being vegan, said the statement, "Well, I just have a more balanced way of eating."
Hmm.
And what's hit me in that moment was a few things, but one is that I think many of us have a bias that being balanced, quote unquote, is like better, right?
Hmm.
That wasn't the first thought I had. The first thought I had, which it's good that this interaction happened with somebody I'm very close with, and I didn't feel the need to really edit myself or keep things hold back too much. So my response was, "You're right. I'm very much not balanced where animal harm is concerned." So, like where harming animals is involved. I'm not balanced. I don't do it. I'm not compromising. Uh, um, but then it prompted me to think about it a little bit more and think about these terminating cliches or thought stopping cliches and think about what the purpose of those that is. This has been written about. This has been discussed in other contexts. Uh, but they're really meant to stop questioning, right? Because what was this person's I did, and it wasn't sinister. She wasn't trying to manipulate or shut me up or anything like that. This was just her sincere like thought. But the purpose it serves is she doesn't have to think any more deeply about it. She doesn't have to
Hmm.
explore veganism or feel bad about her choices because she's balanced and balance is good. So she doesn't have to
Hmm.
kind of go any further with that. Um, it prevents that discomfort of cognitive dissonance. And normally because yeah, go ahead.
I'm just, I'm thinking, I'm sort of following along with you. And what occurred to me is the fact that to me, her saying, I have a more balanced approach feels a little defensive.
It could be. It could be. I mean, I wasn't getting strong defensive vibes, but yes, in some sense, she was protective of her own
Well,
way
that's
of
yeah, that's
living.
my point. Not,
Yeah.
not that she was,
She wasn't
kind of,
angry
no,
or
none of
yeah.
that, but more like if I have to say, it's almost like I'm defending something, just
Yes.
like you just said, no, I'm not balanced when it comes to harming animals for me to eat.
Right.
No, I have a very cut and dry approach, which is I'm going to do my damnedest to never harm an animal by my food choices.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
but so that is that so the purpose is I don't want to feel bad about doing something that I'm not prepared to change, but I know but part of me knows it's wrong. So I have to say what I need to say or I have to think what I need to think in order to make it all feel okay. And so I do think that those that it the purpose of a thought terminating cliche is to stop critical thinking, stop arguments, keep the key it is to keep the peace and just stop the so normally I think like the because we are and this isn't just a people pleasing thing. I think in general we really as human beings need to have our communities, we need those to survive. So our tendency might be to kind of just go along with that. Okay, that's a nice, neat little wrap that conversation up in a bow. It's done. We can go on. But I know that you and I have talked about in the past how we will walk away from conversations just feeling really unsettled.
Yeah.
And I think in that moment, I was glad. It's good to have people in your life where you don't feel like you really have to edit yourself because you can practice
Yes.
um, not walking away with that unsettled feeling. You can say, and that doesn't mean to be disrespectful or argumentative. I wasn't being argumentative. I was just saying, you're right. I'm not balanced at all when it comes to animal
Mm.
cruelty or when it comes to, I don't know my exact words, but something like that. I will not do it. I will not do it. So even if that means giving up cheese, apparently it's more balanced to eat cheese. I don't know. And then we could go all into debating that.
I have a question. What was his or her response to your saying, "You're right, I'm not balanced"?
Not we didn't get into a deeper the conversation didn't go that much deeper, but I know that it will probably at some point. Um, it was just like a possibly taking it in, nodding, saying, yeah, like almost like point taken. But I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but point taken. That was the impression that I was left with.
What I think is fairly interesting too is that this is somebody who's in your life on a regular basis
Yeah, yeah,
and who knows that you've been vegan for well over a decade,
yeah.
that this came up.
Because these conversations are circular. It's like that circular river thing. The stream goes in a circle and it always comes around again. So anytime anytime if when you do walk away feeling like, oh man, that I feel unsettled, I wish I had spoken up or I wish I had said something. Just take it as the learning because that maybe with another person, but that same topic will come up again. That
Yeah.
it will come up again because it's this circular river or a stream that it will always keep coming up. So that with this same person who's my mother, I don't mind saying, she won't mind me saying. Um, she
Can
also,
you hold for one moment? I
oh yeah,
think
sure.
somebody is at the door. I apologize.
Okay.
Of course, they're
Um,
doing a fire alarm test in my building. So stay tuned, folks.
all right. It's life. Life happens.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So the same person, same thing. Another thing came up, and you're right. It is funny after so long. I've been vegan since 2012.
So
2012, I think.
14 years.
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny, but she said something about wool,
Hmm.
uh, and um, and this I wasn't. It's not that I was disrespectful or rude or anything, but I was kind of like, come on, like I'm like. So when she said something about using wool, like, oh, because I think the sheep feel good when they're shorn, and I'm like, most farms, well, first of all, eventually those sheep are slaughtered just like every other animal in the industry because once they're no longer of use, they do not go to a retirement home. They are slaughtered. So no
Mhm.
matter how and maybe in the tiny little farms, the rare and tiny little farms, they're treated well, but for the most part, they are not. They are just treated like a commodity, like any other. They're treated as well as is supportive of the bottom line.
Yeah.
Again, not holding back, just stating the facts as they are, and also there are many alternatives to wool and we don't need to use the animal for that. Uh, so the messaging being in these 14 years of being vegan, I have yet to come across an industry where using animals doesn't ultimately harm the animals.
Hmm.
So being vegan is the answer. There's no skirting around it.
Yeah.
There's no reasoning you can come up with.
Hmm.
That's it. We can talk about anything. I'll talk about anything. But the bottom line is eventually, if you're going to be real about it, This is
Yeah.
where you're going to land.
Well, I think that's true. I'm curious, this conversation that you had, like you said, it was with somebody that you do not have to edit yourself with.
Right.
Does that help you when you're having conversations with others now that you've sort of tried out a few responses?
Yeah, I highly recommend practicing on people.
That's a great
That,
idea.
yeah, I highly recommend it. Just practicing.
That is a
Um,
great idea. And,
yeah,
maybe just practicing with, I could practice with you.
100%.
Yeah, I
Yes. Yeah,
love
you would
that
rehearse.
idea.
We kind of rehearse these. We can rehearse these conversations in safe ways, ways that feel safe, and then venture out into the world and take a chance, and just
So I think in finishing up the takeaway for me is both what we just said, practice, and the other is when somebody makes a comment that is meant to be the showstopper,
right.
which, can have I can have a visceral effect. That can have a visceral effect for me
Yes.
where I feel like the door has been slammed shut.
Yes.
To remind myself, oh, if that's happening, I don't have to abide by somebody else slamming the door in my face.
Yes.
I can actually, if I'm present enough, take a deep breath, recognize they've been triggered a little bit,
Right.
and choose how I want to respond. And maybe my decision is going to be I'm not going to say something. But maybe, especially if it's somebody I feel comfortable with, I will take it
Yeah.
to the next step. But I think that's a really, for me, a nice reminder. If I feel like something's being pushed at me, recognize, wait a second, just because that's where they are, it doesn't mean I have to respond in kind and shut my mouth.
Exactly, exactly. Or shut down your own thinking about it. Like,
Yes,
yeah, okay, so live and let live. That's another thought terminating cliche. Or,
yes.
you do what's best for you, I'll do what's best for me. That's another thought terminating cliche because it puts an end to the conversation. It puts an end to any further
Yeah.
exploration. And I do think that even though, yes, in that moment, sometimes you're going to take the lesson from receiving, not actually speaking up. But I think that the goal, ideally, you would take it with you, kind of process it, and the next time be able to say something because in a grander context for there's the interpersonal relationships, but even just as a society, as a culture, the thought terminating cliches are what is used to manipulate and control. So we're trying to work against the cultural norms,
Hmm.
the status quo. So we do need to know how to respond to these so that our thoughts aren't stopping, or we're not silent, and we're not really letting people off the hook with
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
thoughts. Oh, I'm just more balanced, and well, that's not gonna cut it.
And, being vegan is going against the grain.
Of course, of
It
course.
definitely is. We
Yeah.
are the minority, and they want to. I have to laugh, and then we're going to
Yeah.
say goodbye. But there was a primary in Texas, a runoff last
Yes.
night, and a gentleman named Ken Paxton, who is
Hmm.
supported by Trump, won
Yeah.
handily over John Cornyn, who is the sitting senator. And in his victory speech, Ken Paxton started making fun of James Tallarico, who was going to be his opponent, by calling him vegan and calling him tofu Tallarico. And I thought, you know what? First of all, I have no idea if James Tallarico is vegan. I haven't heard he is, so
I
I
hadn't heard
suspect
that.
he's not. But I think it was a way of emasculating
Of course.
someone
Real men eat
to
meat.
call him vegan and tofu Tallarico. And I thought, I mean, it was so obnoxious. Like
Yes.
I'm going to, rather than talk about policy differences, I'm going to make fun of somebody.
Yeah.
But then
Yes,
to use, well, of course, in Texas, cattle country, calling somebody vegan is a dirty word.
it is. It
Yeah.
is.
Anyway, thought terminating cliches. I
Yeah.
love the topic. Thank you for raising it, and thank you for making time for us to have this conversation today.
Thank you too. It's fun.
Take care.